Showtime!
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats.
Showtime!
Please make your way to your seats. The show is about to begin.
Showtime!
Let the magic begin.
I'm always kind of skeptical about because these things happen. I've seen these happen a lot. And I've never seen anybody really. I hear they get regulatory approval and then they never actually come to market. Somebody sues them. It's not working. This and that's happening. Okay. But here we are. Continuous non-invasive glucose sensing on the horizon with development of new optical sensors. So basically it's optical, continuous, non-invasive. So you don't need to test yourself all the time because it's constantly on there. So you just get an alert when you need to do something.
Yeah, this is cool. And again, we've got a diabetes epidemic problem in North America and across the world. So this is a new development in glucose monitoring technology. So they've created a miniaturized optical sensor that can provide, like you said, continuous non-invasive glucose measurements, which could eliminate the need for fingerprint blood tests and those adhesive patches that currently monitor glucose levels. I didn't know this until recently, but those patches have to be removed every few days, and they are hell to remove. Like they hurt a lot, especially someone with sensitive skin. So this is cool. As far as the technology goes, the sensor is only 5 millimeters wide. And it utilizes a newly discovered infrared signature of glucose to differentiate it from water signals. So the biggest thing here is that separating glucose from water has been the biggest obstacle in developing a small wearable optical glucose sensor. So what they did was the sensor itself was tested on glucose solutions and blood plasma, and it showed the ability to detect glucose, in the range of 50 to 400 milligrams per deciliter. So that covers the normal human glucose levels, and it's comparable accuracy to larger benchtop devices. And the way it works, apparently, what they're saying is it uses an LED light source and laser pattern flexible copper circuits on a thin plastic film, which makes it a millimeter scale and very lightweight, and it allows the potential for integration into smartwatches or maybe skin patches for 24/7 glucose reading. So maybe our next Apple smartwatch will have a glucose reader. So it's good because, and I did look up a value, and I think it might be in the article, but over 460 million people suffer with diabetes, type 1, type 2, and we can debate whether Alzheimer's is type 3, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look as we go. There's a comment I'm going to get to from our users, but non-invasive glucose sensing as a target for almost 30 years. Like, this is why I keep saying, I keep hearing, oh, we got this. It's going to be in the next Apple Watch. We're going to get this. We're going to do that. Or next thing, I got this little optical set. And none of it ever really gets approved. We're still doing invasive glucose. This is why I'm always skeptical on this. And we got this note just that's going to take us for a little bit of a tangent here. Okay, you guys gave me an idea about the way that we're molding stones in ancient Egypt. There is a frequency that can destabilize the weak electrical force to literally allow any molecular combination to be puttied. I've seen that in certain sci-fi. I don't 100% know if that's true, but I do believe, if we look at a quantum level, we're all based, there's harmonics that are at the very core of us that we could, I believe that we could easily disrupt stuff like that. What about you, John?
Yeah. What's the movie that where they did that, where they were using RF frequencies to kind of to do drilling? I can't remember now, but
you're not thinking of Armageddon?
No.
Maybe they had to use diamond drill bits or whatever for that.
Was it the other one that came out around the same time as Armageddon? It was something, but anyways, we could get into the universe frequencies and all that sort of stuff. I haven't really done some research into that, but yeah.
So apparently it's demonstrated its ability detecting glucose levels at 50 to 400 milligrams. You said it was 5 nanometers, the camera?
The sensor itself is 5 millimeters, not nanometers.
Millimeters. Okay.
Millimeters. Yeah. And then, so the thing is they have filed a patent, which doesn't really tell you much, but that does mean that they might have something. If they filed a patent, if they get the patent, then that'll tell us something more. But so, just to get into just some more details, the sensor itself operates in the 1600 to 1700 nanometer, which is near infrared range. So it analyzes. So in this range, they were able to identify 4 distinct absorption peaks specific to glucose, allowing it to be differentiated from water.
Yeah, and it looks like they're using it via a Bluetooth, allows it to use a coin battery for monitoring, so it lasts a while.
Yeah.
Probably can be recharged. So yeah, you could probably eventually put this. The diode's only 110 microns thick.
Yeah. So the thing to note with this, though, is that the only computational simulations were done to model light penetration through skin and optimal sensor placement for future clinical testing. So I think what that means is based on what I read, is that they tested it directly on blood, not as a wearing it on the skin, if that makes sense. So detecting it from blood as opposed to and they're saying it's non-invasive, but I think that they that based on what I read is that they've only done simulations in the modeling to figure out the light penetration through the skin itself.
Yeah, so it's external. It sounds like you're saying it was internal for a bit.
Not internal, but like it only works directly on blood or plasma. It doesn't work through the skin, I don't think. I think it's
okay. What you're saying, they're working on it now to get it through the skin. Wow. Okay, so we'll see. Non-invasive nature, glucose has the potential to improve patients' compliance, reduce skin comfort, lower risk of infection. Yeah, I mean, I think non-invasive and continuous monitoring when it drops. The problem with obviously any sort of continuous monitoring is power.
Yeah.
Because with these things, it looks like you have to shine a light.
Yeah.
And then the camera kind of scans the differences through there. So you're constantly scanning, whether it's, once a minute, once every couple of minutes, what does continuous mean exactly? And taking those pictures and analyzing them and figuring out where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. So the LED light source, that's what shines the infrared light. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Yeah. It does work through the skin. And the light can penetrate through the outer layers of the skin. Yeah.
Cool. That's what I was reading here. And I was just like, hey, I wasn't sure.
I misunderstood. Yeah.
And, we'll have to see. Things like a watch is great because you have it, but it might not be optimally placed for monitoring blood.
Yes. Exactly. It might have to be like a patch that's like a powered patch or something separate. But again, newer technology, and in its infancy as far as actually something that could potentially work. So as technology develops, it could potentially get integrated into a watch. But right now, I don't know.
This is great. I love to see the technology moving forward because we can, once you have this kind of technology, it'll help all these people. But there's a lot of other situations where now we can be monitoring the blood for all sorts of other things. If you're talking about being diabetic, but what happens if you're just trying to lose weight and ketosis and watching your different things that are in your blood just to track to find out whether you're getting surges or not. I don't know what else you can measure in your blood with something like this other than glucose, but longer term, like once you got a sensor in your camera, you can start using the software to say, these things mean this, right?
Yeah. And I know you always ask this question, how long?
Yeah.
I was prepared this time. So based on the factors that in the article, like we're looking clinical trials beginning like this year, next year, FDA approval the next 2 to 5 years, manufacturing scale up the next maybe 4 to 6, and then commercial launch maybe as early as like 5 to to 8-9 years. But again, it's an estimate based on where they're currently at and a whole bunch of different things. But like when it comes to FDA approval, the approval process for a new medical device like this often takes 3 to 7 years. So there's a few more hurdles, and then we got manufacturing scale up that needs to be done.
That's why I think we'll see it faster. I know I know it's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But because that takes so long, we're going to see this type of technology faster, because right now this is coming out of a university. Somebody's going to come along and say, hey, I've got a crap ton of money. I'm going to buy this and I'm taking it to the next level. And great, I'm not going to call it a medical device. I'm going to put it in the next Google Watch or Apple Watch or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're just going to start doing it. And we're going to do all this tests while we're doing this stuff on the back end. So by the time we get the FDA approval, we're ready to go, and it's already in 100 million users' hands.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm just kind of like, we can now call it a medical device. We've been doing this all along.
Yeah. For now, we just call it that, something else, and then get it into the hands of people.
It's for hobbyists. It's for people who want to track their own whatever. Yeah. So I think that's why we'll see it faster, because this has been the holy grail for so many companies for so long to get this non-invasive optical. And then you can do so many things with it. It wouldn't be long whether it's a medical company or a technology company that comes and says, no, we'll buy that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It'll be like, what's the big one that has the glucose monitors? Jesus, they have a big office in Mississauga. Anyways, yeah.
I don't know who they are. Pardon?
One of those companies.
Yeah, I did a bunch of work for Apotex way back in the day as a pharmaceutical company, but there's a bunch out in Mississauga. I didn't even know until you...
Dexcom, but that's not the one that's out there. There's another one, but...
Until you go in and work in that area, you don't realize that this is like literally a bunch of a whole area of pharmaceutical companies. Just a bunch of them. Yeah, there's
every single one is there. GSK, GlaxoSmithKline. Yeah, all of them are there. Yeah.
I didn't know until I did some software development for them. So it was interesting way back in the day. This has been great. You got any final words on this?
No, this will be cool. Yeah. And the other company I was thinking of was Medtronic. They're the ones that have the office in Mississauga. But yeah, really cool stuff. Really interesting. Super excited to see. Well, this one is a little bit more realistic than the other two that we were talking about, except for the trillion transistors. I know we've got we do have that 3D architecture that's being developed that there is potential already. So yeah, really interesting to see where we go from here. But one thing was I would like to see, maybe I'll develop it, is I would like to have a dopamine sensor for me to measure my dopamine levels. That would be great.
Indeed. It'd be interesting to like insulin resistance. You probably get a dopamine resistance in it, and it's you have to probably kind of figure out the right balance. You get a dopamine hit every time someone likes something on Twitter or social media, and you do this and you do that, and there's 1,000 different things, right? Plus, it maybe eat the food you want or whatever. So it's hard to. That's an interest, but that is something that's needed as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Jon, you help startups, technical companies, anybody with 2 developers or more find funding for their startups. What do you got going on, and what's the latest in startup funding?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of announcements made in the budget, so we'll have to see what comes out of that. I'm working on a summary right now, but yeah, I help companies across the board. I'm working with a agri company right now, and a bunch of others all across the board, clean energy, different things like that. So if you're a Canadian company, or even if you're not a Canadian company, if you're incorporated in Canada, feel free to reach out. But yeah, that's I help with Shred is the best one to take advantage of because you're entitled to it. It's a tax credit, but there's tons of other grants and potential funding out there. Non-dilutive funding, I must say.
And people should reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Yeah. Send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll send you my Calendly and we'll set up a call.
And you got anything going on next couple of weeks?
Other than Startup Drinks on May 2nd, I've got an actual, this is really cool, fractional C-suites and consultant private dinner put on by Ryan Wong, who's a phenomenal guy. That's coming up on Tuesday of next week. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, you're supposed to send me these links ahead of time so I can pull them up for people.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know. I just thought of it right now. I apologize. Yeah,
I know. I try to Google these things, but we go through. I know, same thing. It's one of those things. That's great. Sounds wonderful. Do you know where they can find that? What do they Google?
Well, that one's invite only, unfortunately. But that's but there's other ones that Ryan puts on that I will talk about as they come up. So yeah, there's some.
And we'll get links in there so we can find where it is. Check out all our stuff at TorontoStarts.com. That's where you get the Futuretech podcast that comes out. We're behind on releases. Just so you know, we've actually got 42 episodes recorded, not including the 3 that'll come from this, because you mentioned that last week. And we've got like a 10 to be released that are all ready to go. I was slow releasing. I was doing 3 a week, and then I went to 1 a week when we switched my editing tool. So it took me a little while, but now I'm back. I know what I'm doing. Everything's good. So you'll see 3 episodes a week and maybe a little bit more as I'll start pumping them out until we get a little less of a buffer. So you'll see more of those. If you're stuck in your business and you're looking to move ahead, you're struggling with sales, finding clients, anything along that lines, go to startupcoach.ca, book a discovery call with me. We'll help you get unstuck and move to the next level. You mentioned on May 2nd, our Startup Drinks TO, we've got almost 50 tickets gone already. So it's going to be a great night. We're still just over 2 weeks away. Join us there. It's open bar, open pitch. You get 20 seconds to pitch. We have investors, founders, industry experts. It's a warm and welcoming environment. Everyone's going to give you advice and help you and connect. You always meet valuable connections, but it's not always what you think, the ones you think. And, I've talked to people as they're leaving. They found new business partners in this and that and the other thing. And it's always a great conversation. So hope to see you there. And we'll see you guys all next time on Futuretech.